Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. We are live on the Facebook machine. We're live on the Periscope machine. Big Natural, Stoney Keeley here, the editor-in-chief at SoBrosNetwork.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Stoney Keeley. Follow us collectively at SoBros Network. Joined tonight by our typical film critic. He is the host of Brandon's Box Office in Your Mouth, the nature boy, Brandon Vick. Brandon, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm a little sleepy.
Yeah, it's late. It's a late night podcast for us, so to speak. It's 10 o'clock. We just got through watching Monday Night Raw. Thoughts and prayers to Ric Flair.
Yep, he's dead.
Hoping that he's okay after what transpired. Batista's back. We got an opportunity for a rare crossover event here. Monday Night Raw aside, you and I just got out of the 7:15 p.m. showing of Fighting with My Family at Regal Providence Cinemas, Mount Juliet. Shout out to Providence.
And what else? I was trying to think, what movie really had wrestling in it, and that for this crossover, and I think, was it Ready to Rumble?
Well, The Wrestler.
Oh, that's true, I guess.
Yeah, The Wrestler. And
but this one is very much, and I think what reminded me of Ready to Rumble is because they had all access to WCW, and this one had a lot of access to the WWE stuff, too.
Well, it did have the WWE Studios brand on it.
Yeah. So they got, and with The Rock producing.
The Rock producing.
You got
Steven
to see WrestleMania 30.
Another producer, right? He produced it?
He directed it.
Directed it, yeah. So, I mean, they had a couple of pretty big heavy hitters behind this thing. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Stephen Merchant. I mean,
right. And Vince Vaughn.
You think Hollywood...
You think of Stephen Merchant.
Stephen Merchant and Dwayne
"The Rock" Johnson. Foremost.
Yeah. No, I do. I'm making fun right now, but I do love Stephen Merchant. So
I do too.
Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about the movie, where it got started, and kind of who put this thing together?
So, Fighting with My Family is based on Paige.
WWE superstar Paige.
Right, and she was kind of at the forefront of the women's revolution. She, her first night on Raw, she became Divas Champion, which that's addressed in the movie. But there's a documentary, and I'm pretty sure it's called Fighting with My Family, and it's about Paige and her brothers and her parents.
Okay.
And they're one big wrestling family. They live it, breathe it, and it's about essentially her journey, not only to making it to the main roster of WWE, but also having the support of her family, and I think being able to identify of who they are and essentially the roles that they play in her life as she was able to make it.
So they had quite an impressive cast for this thing. I mean, when it was first announced, you kind of wondered, how are they going to pull this off? You know, you got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson behind it. He's actually in the movie, has, 3 or 4 cameos, actually.
Yeah, maybe 10 minutes total, I guess.
But other than that, it just, you wondered how they were going to do it. They end up getting Vince Vaughn.
Right, he's not like Wedding Crashers.
No, it's not like Wedding Crashers.
He's got some good zingers, though.
He does have some good zingers. But he does play the coach down at not the coach, Jonathan Coachman.
Right, no.
He plays the coach down at the WWE Performance Center outside of Orlando. Kind of a hard-nosed trainer guy, veteran of the business, coaching people up, straight shooter type, different from your typical Vince Vaughn.
But he's gotten more serious here in the past couple of years. But and Nick Frost.
Oh my God!
People know from Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz. He plays Paige's dad.
I thought he was great. Cersei Lannister, I believe is her real name. Plays Paige's mom.
She is her character. Real quick, Nick Frost he had a lot of memorable lines. He was actually the real comic relief of it.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, shout out to our boy Justin Nice Koozie.
Oh,
check out
cheers.
Wrestling Cheers. Got this when Justin came to town for the last sub show.
Oh,
so good dude.
So that's why it caught his eye.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the movie. Let's get into our thoughts on it. What did you think?
I want to say when we were first talking about it and the people that were involved, it's sometimes tough not to come off as all of this being goofy.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Dwayne Johnson being a part of it, I think added a lot of realism, and I would imagine had a lot of access to make the journey a lot more believable.
Yeah.
Overall, I actually thought it was pretty good. It's a pretty endearing story. It's predictable, and I'm not just saying that in the sense of I watch wrestling and I know that who Paige becomes, but just from a narrative standpoint.
Yeah.
It's the underdog. It's the friction with the brother, and the brother, you know he's going to go down this certain path for a little bit. But honestly, I feel like its heart's in the right place.
Yeah.
The family is definitely has a pivotal.
I thought they made the movie to me.
They did, and you know what? And I'm kind of glad. And this is another reason I overall enjoyed it, is because they kept the focus on that family dynamic.
Yeah.
Instead of going full on all this wrestling, trying to get into the characters, and because really her journey as far as like the wrestling is really simplified.
It is
to make room for the family part. I think Florence Pugh, who plays Paige, I thought she did a good job. I liked her. It's weird to see someone play a real person that's also like Paige is a young woman, but to get that, I don't know. I just felt like the emotion and stuff was there. I don't know if as far as like the physical attributes were there, but the acting and everything, she made it more believable than I feel like if someone else would have stepped up to the plate. I feel like she did bring this certain charisma that it kept you entertained.
I thought
you hated her, didn't you?
No, I didn't hate her. I kind of felt like they needed a bigger personality out of Paige. I didn't dislike her, but there were times that I kind of felt like, man, she's kind of taken away from the scene right now a little bit. A little dull, maybe the word I would use for it. I didn't exactly dig, like, her accent felt kind of out of place. There were times where she would say things and I would just...
I kind of feel like that with the brother.
Really?
Yeah, especially, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's kind of towards the end. I don't know if it was a British accent or it was something else, but
yeah,
I'll be honest, I didn't pay much attention. I felt like her accent was there. I could see where maybe if she mispronounced something, perhaps, but it
felt out of place. Like, I don't know. I felt like, which is a theme in the movie, they talk about being authentic. I felt that from pretty much everybody else, but there were times where I was just kind of like, give me something a little more.
I get what you're saying. I don't think that weighed down as heavy on me as much as if she's going to be the focal point. I felt like she did a good job carrying that story, and especially when it came to, whether the decision to keep going or not, and the conversation she has with her brother.
The conversation she has with her brother is great.
I felt like there was other things in there that that made me take notice of her performance. I'm not saying it's the greatest, but they could have done a lot worse. I think Florence Pugh does come in there and bring it for the most part.
I'll give you that. My main question after the movie
could have been Christina Ricci. Not that I don't enjoy Christina Ricci, because I do.
That's true.
I really do.
That's true. I liked the movie. I really did. Like I said, I'm just kind of nitpicking here. I thought it was an enjoyable movie. I think it could have been so much worse.
Yes.
But overall, I think it was pretty enjoyable, but I just kept thinking, would someone that's not a wrestling fan enjoy this movie? And I don't know, like.
Yeah, I don't. You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because I was thinking, like, during the movie, like, Ultimate Warrior Wrestling Buddy.
Yeah.
Some of the posters that are hanging up. Mm-hmm. Some of the footage that they show of, like, with Austin, and you see all the stuff that was, like, they're kind of showing the family what it's about. that's nostalgia for us
Yeah.
who grew up watching wrestling. But I don't know. I think you're right. I think that this is not for a general moviegoer.
I wouldn't think so, no.
I think that they're hoping to attract general moviegoers because of The Rock, but the truth is that's if you're going for him,
Yeah.
you're going to be very disappointed. I don't know. You know what? I really feel like this is a wrestling fan, and what's funny is I feel like this movie is for the wrestling fan, but there's also things in it that a wrestling fan will criticize because there's some stuff where they show stuff at the end and I'm like, that's not on Raw.
Yeah, exactly. And
be.
that's something that Justin pointed out. The inaccuracies in the actual wrestling part of it were pretty evident if you're an actual wrestling fan and keep up with this.
Very true.
I think this movie kind of operates and exists in a sort of weird gray area where if you're not a wrestling fan, sure, it is a story of comeuppance, and she overcame a lot and had to endure a lot to get to where she's at,
finding her own identity, which is.
But if you're not a wrestling fan, does that movie really interest you in that regard? Meanwhile, if you are a wrestling fan, I don't mean this to knock Paige, because she is one of my favorite women's wrestlers, but if you're a wrestling fan, there are a lot more interesting stories out there that could be told. So,
like Hulk Hogan?
It kind of, yeah, Hulk Hogan, okay. It kind of felt like I did get a sense watching the movie, like, who is this for? Who is this marketed to? And I think that sort of made me feel a tad disconnected from it. But it's not a bad movie. It's just kind of, for me, it's just kind of like there.
Yeah. It can't satisfy both sides of the theater. Yeah. You can't have general moviegoer thinking, "Oh my God, what a story this is," and especially when honestly, not only is it really a story about that's even outside of America's conscious, really, but if you don't watch wrestling, then you really don't know.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Paige, I wouldn't know. I haven't seen the documentary. I don't know anything about her family or anything. I find it interesting, but that's because I found the subject matter interesting. Yeah. From the beginning. And I think that's it. I think Rock's on the poster to try and get the general people go.
Yeah.
But honestly, at the end of the day, I think it's better for being an independent movie. Yeah. But I think there's a reason why it's an independent movie. Yeah. No studios, even when The Rock comes in and tries to pitch it, they couldn't sell it. And I think part of it is finding that audience. And I don't really think... I think it's a niche for the wrestling community, and the same people you're trying to impress are the same people who are going to come back and say, "Yeah, but." Yeah, exactly.
But all things considered, I thought again, I went into this movie with pretty low expectations.
Yeah, I told you earlier that since the first trailer, I've gotten more interested in it. Yeah, but the first one, I thought this doesn't.
Yeah, sure. But shifting gears to talk about Vince Vaughn, it was so surreal to kind of see him in a movie like this. And it's not to say that he didn't belong, but it just, like, why weren't they... he was in the previews, but, like, where was he in all the marketing? I feel like if you put this package together, you've got something. True. What did you think of Vince Vaughn in the movie?
I actually liked him.
I did too.
But I will tell you, there is a movie called Cell Block 99, and it is a...
Oh God, you've got it up on the site somewhere, don't you?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Or you've tweeted about it or something.
And it's a rough, hardcore movie. Yeah. And you want to talk about Vince Vaughn, that is the furthest thing from what we would remember him as far as old school and Wedding Crashers. So to me... him taking on more serious roles, I wasn't as... I don't know if you were, but I wasn't surprised to see him in that kind of role. Well, I will be honest, but it's kind of weird to see him as that coach. But you know what? There were a few scenes where I don't know. I kind of felt like he was needed for that part. Someone like him was necessary.
I saw Domestic Disturbance, so I was not surprised in the least bit.
Yes. And that remake of Psycho that was scene by scene filmed the exact same way.
Yeah. Justin would like to ask on Facebook, is this a lesser version of The Wrestler minus the ending of The Wrestler? I would reply nothing.
Nothing compares to The Wrestler.
No,
No. At the end of the day, it's an underdog story. It's a feel-good story. It's a wrestling underdog story with the softest of touch.
Yeah.
Because it is nothing. Even whatever the real conflict within the family, you can tell it was so like, oh shoot, there's probably more to that story even if with what we saw on screen tonight, which maybe the documentary does a better job of explaining it. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I haven't seen the doc. Justin's seen the doc though.
Well, I think some of it. I think they show some of it at the end.
Oh yeah.
From what I think that's what they were showing, but yeah, no.
What do you think?
The Wrestler is. I mean, my God.
Do you think this was the time to release this movie this time of year? I mean, you're gearing up for WrestleMania. Theoretically, wrestling fever is going to be setting in. You're going to have all the wrestlers hitting the PR train, marketing and all that. Or did it feel like just a separate thing to you, sort of a shot in the dark, just to...
If I knew that they picked this time to do it, maybe. I'm not even sure. I mean, you could be right. Maybe they thought more eyes would be on the TV, so it's the best time to push it.
Yeah.
I think from just a movie standpoint, I feel like, again, I let me say this with that the movie is pretty entertaining. I actually enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you release this any other time, though. I don't think it's a summer movie. I think it gets swallowed up by the big budget movies. You release it in the fall with the award contenders.
Season. Yeah.
It's not, so honestly, a January, February, maybe March, and I think once you kind of get into the April part, but I mean, you can't even do March really because Captain
Marvel's coming out. Yeah.
And it did, I think it was released in 4 or 5 theaters last Friday, so the 15th.
Yeah.
A limited release,
mm-hmm.
and then it came out nationwide here, and I think whatever they could do, they could. They did it. I mean,
that's exactly what I was about to say. I think they were smart about this, and I think they did the best job they could have possibly done. And that's going to sound like a slight against the creators of this film, but I mean, it was good for what it is.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Is that I don't know what you're expecting when you go in.
Yeah,
but I got what I thought I would.
Mm.
I even got better acting than I thought I would.
Oh, that's a great point.
And the whole, even if you don't know anything about wrestling, that whole introduction of the grind that they have to make before you ever see them on TV, I thought was done pretty well. Now, again, as wrestling fans, we can critique it all day long on what it truly is. But honestly, it's fighting with my family. At the end of the day, it's a family dramedy that happens to be about a girl who likes wrestling, or a family that is obsessed with wrestling.
Yeah, so let's put you on the spot here, and I'm just noticing that Justin agrees this is the perfect time of year. This is a movie down season, January and February, normally dud months, so might have a chance to stand out a little bit then if it comes out now. So let's put you on the spot then. Let's get the official Vick's Flicks star rating. What would you give it?
It's a solid 3, maybe 3.5.
3.5.
I think it's worth seeing, especially if you're interested in in that field with wrestling, and especially if you want to know more about, because Paige's story is interesting, but again, like you said, I mean, what do you compare that to?
Yeah.
But I think overall it did what it's supposed to. It's entertaining. It's funny. Sure, you know how it's going to go, but you know what? There's never a time. It's not overly long. It's less than 2 hours.
Yeah. They
hit the spots, and I'm a fan of Florence Pugh. I thought she did a good job. So, it's definitely 3 and a half for sure.
I think I would go 2.5 out of 5. I think I would give it that
right
there in the middle. I thought it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, but to me, there were a few elements of the movie that kind of took me out of the moment, so to speak, and kind of made it feel like, whether it was a little more from Paige, whether it was like you said the brother with the accent issues. Like I noticed some of these things, and sometimes I didn't like how they just breezed over her transformation in NXT either. Like within they put together one montage, and all of a sudden she's getting along with all the girls and stuff.
Right.
That took me out of the moment of the movie. But go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, and that's what I think. That's what I sort of mean for people that when you go in and look, because honestly, is that's what happens. Is you're enjoying it, but you also know there's more to it, but they're not going to show you that. So It kind of makes it look like a lot of this, like as it's funny because a lot of with her training is how tough it is, but I don't really think as an audience member, that damn, she didn't flip that tire.
It never came across how difficult it is. Yeah,
it was more about how she was a loner, an outcast, and then she kind of embraced that. But I think there should be more substance to it.
Yeah,
but they got a story to tell, and
I mean it's a lengthy, girthy story. There's a lot to fit into a couple
and to
hours.
and to try and go through your family problems and trying to make it. I mean, trust me, you don't want to watch this for like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So, but solid 3, maybe even 3.5. For what it is, I enjoyed it. I thought they did a nice job with what they had, and like you said, it really could have turned into a disaster, but they actually kept it very endearing, and up to a certain point, their approach was pretty honest. At least trying to depict the family with their love for wrestling.
Yeah, and the bottom line is, would you encourage movie fans to go check it out? And I think the answer to that is probably yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going to regret spending that 2 hours.
No, but I do think the more you know about wrestling, the more you'll get a lot more out of it.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
You know who would love this movie? My 11-year-old niece.
Really?
She knows Uncle Stoney likes wrestling. And she likes, the female empowerment. It's version of a princess story coming into her own.
And maybe that's what Fighting With My Family's counting on.
Maybe. I don't know. Also, don't know if I'd want her being around Paige's dad talking about balls and shit.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
There you have it. Any parting thoughts for this movie? Thank you.
No. I think I've listen, after watching about 25 minutes of this, if you haven't decided, then you never will.
That's right. Fair enough. All right. Well, for the Nature Boy Brandon Vick, who you can check out at Sir Brandon V, I am Big Natural Stoney Keeley. SoBrosNetwork.com. Follow our movie content at SoBros Movie. This was going so great until then.
That's okay.
At SoBros Movies. Like us on Facebook at Movies on SoBros Network. Justin, thank you for sitting through this whole fucking thing with us. Pleasure to chat as always. Hope you make it back down to Nashville sometime soon. For the rest of yous, we'll catch up down the road. What's next for you? What are you going to see next in theaters?
Probably Captain Marvel. I think.
There you go.
I think.
All right, folks. It is time. This is not a drill. Captain Marvel on deck. Thank you guys for joining us for our live review of Fighting With My Family. Again, 3.5 out of 5. Justin gave it 3.5 out of 5. I gave it 2.5 out of 5.
Could be a 3.
Could be a 3. In that
Just
range.
saying. Hey, listen, that's pretty good.
Thank you guys for spending the evening with us. Till next time, you stay classy, Nashville. And cheers to wrestling cheers.